Oh my God. He left me inside those woods behind that tree. He dumped me in the woods. He thought he killed me. I thought he killed me. Begging and pleading for my life. Help me. Somebody please, God, help me.
Susan Drew walked these streets in the 1990s.
It was like a bad dream. It was never ending. And you got out, you were lucky. I survived. People were dying left and right. You know, we knew.
She and the other prostitutes would take their customers to this dark graveyard off Cleveland Avenue until one night in '97.
That's where they found the girl tied to the tree.
Standing straight up.
Standing straight up against the tree. The women were dying way before then.
But this one was different because it was like a message to Atlanta.
Yeah. This is what got on the news.
The grisly murder of a prostitute whose nude body was found in the Rosewood Cemetery 11 days ago.
The cemetery killer was caught, but the murders continued.
But there had been stranglings.
Many. You didn't know. You just hoped you would survive.
Looking for clues in the death of an unidentified woman.
40 women were strangled or asphyxiated in metro Atlanta from 1993 through 98, around the 96 Olympics.
Some murders over the last 2 years have some similarities.
The press noticed drug-addicted prostitutes were turning up dead in the years leading up to the Atlanta Games.
And there's a huge headline indicating serial killer on the loose. That's irresponsible.
I never knew there was more than one.
But then you were attacked again.
Yes, yes.
By a different guy.
By a different guy. The detective picked me up right here. There's a killer. There's somebody out here killing y'all. Okay, that's where it was. Right here, this is the spot. He's body slamming. He's going like this towards me when the cops come. Like that. He was coming at me and then the lights came from all directions.
Did they tell you, hey, this is the guy that we warned you
This
about?
is the guy. We think this is the guy. You gotta come to court. And I didn't.
Susan survived 3 attacks and her addiction.
I hate this place.
She has put decades between this place and that time when a cemetery was a place to die.
Was it clear to you when you would be on a scene like that we're dealing with a different animal here?
Yes. Committing a murder and leaving a body posed in a provocative, shocking way.
Atlanta homicide.
A retiree sits down to watch a 90s cop show.
It can take days, weeks, or years to solve a murder.
But he is also the star.
They have gained notoriety because of their hats. The Hat Squad.
At some point, we became known as the Hat Squad, and we were on TV almost on a daily basis because back then the homicide rate in Atlanta was extremely high.
Lieutenant Danny Agan.
There were nearly 200 murders in 1994 when Danny Agan commanded the Atlanta Police Homicide Unit.
Of course, the sensational story is serial killer is at large, and police won't say. Well, the police weren't saying serial killer for certain because of a reason. That's because we didn't know.
It has been so long, trees have sprouted on what was once a scene of murder. The body and clues long since gone. Many of these cases have been solved over the last 2 decades, while others remain stubbornly open. Also open is the question, were police dealing with a serial killer or serial killers, or multiple individual stranglers?
Most police administrators on the higher end would rather eat glass than say, we have a serial offender out of any stripe, murderer, sex offender. Why it was better to say we have 10 murderers out here instead of saying we suspect we have one guy that's responsible for 10 murders.
Which is worse?
Well, I never understood that.
Atlanta police may not have any suspects in the prostitute murders, but the prostitutes do. The prostitutes are calling him Mr. X.
This was Valerie Payton back in October of '94. There was a note on her body saying something to the effect of, I'm back Atlanta. Could be dealing with a serial offender. Could be the first time that he's ever done something like this.
Theories are great for investigators.
Sure.
The problem is when that theory becomes something you try to prove rather than trying to follow the truth wherever it leads, right?
That's right. Tunnel vision's what I call it.
Getting tunnel vision on something that you think you've already figured out.
Even though he strangles his victims, the killer has left Jack the Ripper slash marks that look just like X's.
A decade later, DNA led to the conviction of Michael Harvey as Mr. X for one and only one murder.
Is it surprising to learn that that guy was convicted for only one case?
Given the circumstances of her murder, the way her body's discovered, the note being there, my thought would be he's probably good for something else.
Danny Agan and his Hat Squad caught hundreds of killers, but others got away with murder.
Is your thought that there are uncaught serial killers, either never caught or caught for one crime and incarcerated for that, and we don't know about the other cases?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, all the possibilities are there when you're dealing with what you want to call serial crimes.
The longer a case remains unsolved, the better chance is that it will never be solved.
The killer leaves a note saying, "I'm back in Atlanta," signed Mr. X. I can't stress how rare and significant this is. Fewer than 2% of cases, murders of any kind, involve the leaving of a note or writing. He's later arrested and no follow-up is made as to the significance of this note. Why the Mr. X moniker? I'm back from where? What happened before to make his presence in the city significant again? I mean, this is a major turning point in terms of the murders surrounding the '96 Olympics.